Hello, welcome to QATutorials. As part of a Cypress automation, in this video we are talking about Cypress Hooks and how we can use Cypress Hooks to prepare your test environment, right? If you have not watched the previous Cypress videos, you can go and watch the series so that you get an understanding of how Cypress works for web automation. So, so let's talk about Cypress Hooks. In any web testing environment, you want to prepare your environment first before you start running your test cases. So preparing can be initializing your data or preparing your data updating your data, and things like that. So Cypress hooks will be highly useful for preparing your test environment. So let us see what are the Cypress hooks that are available and its purpose. There are 4 Cypress hooks available: before, after, before each, and after each. Right? So before is basically it will execute. So before runs before starting the execution of first test, right? Which is specified using it or specify in the describe or context block, right? So in Cypress, you can create your test cases using syntax describe and it, or you can also do context and specify. So context is to use to define test case, and specify context is to define test suite, and specify is for a test case. Or you can use describe as a test suite definition and it as a test case definition. So before basically runs before the first test executes, right? And after a hook runs after completion of all test cases specified using it or specify in the describe or context block. So suppose if you want to do something before starting the tests, right? The first test, you can use the before block to initialize your data or environment. And once you complete all the tests, if you want to do something, you can use after block to do that, right? So that is before and after. So what is before each and after each? So before each is basically it executes for each test case before it gets started execution, right? After each is runs after finishing the execution of each of the tests specified using it, specify, describe, or context. So if you probably created some tests in your test suite, so before each runs, before execution of each of the tests, and after each runs, after finishing the execution of each of the tests. This is a very simple hooks, right? I will show you an example of how these work in a Cypress script. Let's go into Cypress scripts. Hooks, right? We're talking about hooks. So this is a simple Cypress script. So we're using a describe as syntax to define our test suite, and we have 2 test cases: Cypress test case 1 and Cypress test case 2, right? So we'll see how the before and after, before each and after each works, right? So in each test case, we just put a comment. Say Cypress test case 1, we are putting like I'm in test case 1, and Cypress test case 2, I'm in test case 2. So whenever this executes, it will print this statement. Whenever test case 1 executes, it will print this statement, I'm in the test case 1. And also for before, so basically we talked about before runs, once before all the test units black, so we have put a simple log statement that I'm in before, then after, I'm in after, so all tests executed, then before each, which is runs before each test in the block, right? After each runs after each test in the block. So we got the idea, right? So we'll execute this and see how the log statements work, like how it prints the statements. So here we have that hook.js. This is our test script. I'm going to run it. So opening the browser now. So once it runs, we'll see what is the test results. Okay, the tests are loading now. So it ran 2 test cases, Cypress test case 1 and Cypress test case 2. Let us see the logs, right? So if you see here, the first log is I'm in before. So before all is executed, then before each, then the test case, I'm in the test case 1, then I'm in after each executed, after the test case executed, right? So what is there in test case 2? If you see test case 2, before each is the first scenario, so not the before, right? Before all is only once before the first test case execution. For each test case, before each will get executed, right? You can see that, right? Then test body is log in test case 2, then after each, then after all is executed at the end of the all test cases, second test case. So this is how the hooks work, right? Before each, after each, and after all. Right? These are the hooks you can use to prepare your test environment and run your test properly, right? And also, if you have like test suites which has multiple test cases, you can include or exclude some of the test cases in Cypress. So I will show you some syntax, how to skip some tests, how to include some test cases. I have a small script which explains this behavior. Suppose if you want to only include one particular test case in your run, right, you can do like dot only. So dot only will only run the test case and skip all other test cases, right? Suppose this test suite has 3 test cases, test case 1, test case 2, and test case 3. If you want to only run test case 3 for this run, we can say dot only, it dot only, then this will only run this test case. Let us run this and see how this works. So this is basically include.js. So we'll go to the test runner, run the include.js. So you should run only the test case 3 in this case. So include.js script is loading. See, only test case 3 has run because that is only included in the test suite because we use the dot only option, right? So similarly, if you want to exclude one test case in the suite, so you can do the dot skip, right? Dot skip, right? Then this in this test suite we have 4 test cases, right? We'll skip the 4th one and run the all other 3. So in this case you need to use the dot skip so that it will skip that test case, right? Let's execute this and see. Exclude.js, so it will only run first 3 and skip the 4th one. See, if you see test case 1, 2 and 3 ran, 4 didn't run because it skipped it, right? So this is how you include and exclude certain test cases in your test suite to execute, right? So this is the introduction about these Cypress hooks and how it works, and also how to include and exclude some of the test cases in your test suite for execution. I think you got a clear idea about this hooks, how to use hooks in your Cypress test scripts. If you have any questions or comments, put it in the comment section. I will reply as soon as possible. If you like this video, click on the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, QATutorials.